Hey everybody, it's Eric Meyer with Instructor Summit. We are here to continue our series of beginner learning tracks, learning some basic concepts with data. Those are 5 concepts that I'm going to show you here right now. They are the foundation of learning data, and that's right here. We're going to talk about GPS speed. We're going to talk about and learn longitudinal. This is what you do with your feet. We're going to learn about steering, which is lateral. That's what you do with your hands. We're going to do over here, we're going to do the track map, and that's over here. Here, in this case, we're at Waterford Hills. Then we're going to talk a really little bit about right here. And I'll call this the friction circle, or sometimes it's referred to as the GG plot or the XY plot. And it's usually something that's kind of like this. It's really hard to see right now. You know, that little G thing right here, and it might have another circle all the way around it, right? Something like that. And that little ball's bouncing around, right? So for the most part, we're going to go here, and we're going to start, and we're going to go easy. And I'm gonna help you figure this stuff out in a systematic, easy way. And this video is particularly helpful if you know Groton. So I'm going to start doing one of these for every track because what I found is a lot of people find it easier to learn if it's on a track they're familiar with, they can picture. And this weekend we're going to Detroit to the M1 concourse to do some beginner data. So I am doing these for all the tracks in Michigan, which are M1, Groton, Waterford Hills, and Gingerman. And so here's Groton, which has got a big history in the Detroit area. So I had my buddy Zach send me a sample lap, and don't worry about this right here. It's not important. That's just the nature of the single lap that he sent me right here, which is of I think a BMW 3 Series with a new driver, a 200 tread wear tire, and no mods, no suspension or brake mods. Running a 127 right here at Groton. That's about all I know about the lap, which is fine because we're not interpreting any. We're not interpreting. Apologies. Drink some more coffee. We're not interpreting anything. We're just understanding what the heck are we looking at. Okay? So let's get started. Okay, we're using Track Attack. And Track Attack is a wonderful free software. It's down here. It's this little orange rhino thing. And it is highly recommended that you take a look at it. It's at trackattack.io. I'll put a link in the bottom of this YouTube video so you can check it out. It's free to start, and I think it's $99 to get rolling for an entire year. And I'm telling you, you want to get on it. That's like $8.33 a month. You can't beat it. And with these videos and exams I'm about to show you, you will be wicked at the end of the year, even if you do only 1 or 2 track days. So let's get started. You don't have to be a mechanical engineer. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about what we're looking at. And right here, this graph right here is kind of referred to in the industry as squiggly lines. Let me do that again. This whole thing right here is called Squiggly Lines, which is also the name of a book by my friend Chris Brown. I've purposely pulled off all these crazy things because right here, people usually get blown away when they see this. Well, you don't have to, because this is not how you learn this stuff. There are 3 channels, call them the big 3. They're actually right here. This is the biggest one. This is number 1. This is called the money channel. This is the speed channel. This is the one we're looking at right here, right now. We're going to talk about. There's longitudinal and there's lateral. That's all we're going to do. And quite frankly, these 2 right here, longitudinal and speed, are like 50% of what you're going to look at. Add in this track map, and that's like 80% of what you're going to look at are speed, longitudinal. This is for a beginner, and track map. Doesn't that sound easy? Of course it is. This stuff's easy. You just gotta make it easy. A lot of people make it hard. If you talk to a rocket scientist and a super engineer, they're just gonna blow you away, and they lose you. And some of those wonderful guys, they can't read people. If you're an engineer out there, I'm talking about you. If you're super smart and you're not on the sales end of it, yeah, I know we're uh, we're getting into an argument right now, but this is true because I see it all the time. You got to dumb this stuff down and make it really easy. You got to learn the alphabet first before you figure out spelling words, right? Before you go to a spelling bee, right? So, so here we go. So this is squiggly lines. And in this case, we're just looking right here at speed. And this speed is represented in miles per hour. That's the unit of measure. Unit of measure like feet, mile per hour, temperature Fahrenheit, PSI, pounds per square inch, right? In this case, it's speed. And this speed is represented right here in this vertical axis called the y-axis. And I always say it's y in the sky. And you can see right here, it's speed. So these are miles an hour. Okay? And in this case, this particular car is maxing out at Waterford Hills at whatever that is, 94 miles an hour, give or take. And you can see right here is 78. And it looks like the lowest is, what, 36, right? Something like that. Got the highest over here. We got the lowest over here. Okay, so that's the y-axis, y in the sky, and in this case, it's measuring mile per hour. If we changed it to, let's see, what's something, we changed this to distance, or added this distance, right? This is now feet right here. Feet, and this is still miles per hour, so you can have more than one. Right, does that make sense? But again, I'm just going to stick with this one. This is 50% what you're going to do spent right here. So already looking at what you need to know for data. Okay, now we're going to talk about the x-axis. And if you do with data with graphs, you already know this. This is x, and in this particular case, it starts at 0. The unit of measure is feet, and this is the track length. Looks like it's about 7,200 feet. So we start here. This is start and finish, or start, and this is finish. This is start, cross the start line about 80, and we finish about 84, give or take, something like this. After the car comes out here, automatically jumps over here for the next lap. And what I'm going to do is go over here to the track map and show you what that looks like. This spot right here, 0, is represented in almost all track maps, is right here. Okay? Direction of travel is this way, direction of travel is this way, direction of travel is this way. Here's actually our car that is in this effort, and it's going to come right here and it's going to stop. So here we go. I want you to look over to the right as we move around the track. Here's start finish near 0, right? Here's about halfway. Here's almost done. Here's coming on to the finish, and there's the finish line, right? Does that make sense? Take a look at the squiggly lines graph again. We're at 0. Let's start. We're moving along, right? We're braking, we're turning, giving it a little gas, braking for the sharper corner. Gas, 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 probably braking right into here. Some more gas, gas, gas. Look right here. Look over to the squiggly lines. There's our maximum speed before braking right there. Do you see it? It's right here. It's just the same thing as right here. Right, that's our maximum speed before we go into braking. This is braking, right, because it's going down. Right, it's going down, right, 50 some miles an hour. We're braking from 90 some. Guys, I know for some of you this is super easy, but this is the foundation. This is the letters on top of the chalkboard in elementary school where it says A, B, B, C, C, etc. Unless you're really young and you grew up and you missed all of that, and you probably have computers, but I don't know that because I'm old. So there we go. We got y-axis, in this case it's mile per hour, and we got x-axis, and they're always this. Y is always vertical, x is always horizontal. In almost all cases, like 99% of the time, this x-axis is distance and represented in feet. Sometimes it's meters, sometimes it's miles. You always want to look. But if it's a big number like 7, 10, 15,000, it's probably feet. And then you just need to look right here. Almost all the software will say distance in the unit of measure. If we wanted to change this to miles, we could. We'll do that in another video to talk about some of the track attack features. Okay, so that's squiggly lines, right? Like we're 50% done with this stuff, and you're going, what? That was easy. Well, I'm going to add in the other elements, and it will make sense. So going back to speed, we know that when it goes down, that's braking, and when it goes up, it's accelerating, right? Brake, gas, brake, little gas, more brake to the slowest part of the track. Right? We know it's the slowest part of the track because it's lowest. Let's go there and see what that is. Right? That makes sense. Look over at the track map. Here it is. Looks like one of the tightest radiuses. Right? Looks like a really tight corner in here. Right? Well, that's right here. Tight corner. Making sense? Looks like we have a beginning of a big important straightaway, maybe even a priority corner. Remember in HPD Classroom, they talk about it's really important that you prioritize the corner that leads to the longest straight. Well, it looks like this actually might be one of those candidates, either that one or this one, right? So this is big enough to be a priority and important. And if we look, it's right back here. We want to get on the gas and go all the way to here until it looks like we're braking. All right, do you see that right there? Here's where we brake, and that's approximately that on the track. Again, I'm just trying to get you to relate what's happening in here to over in here, right? So these two, trying to connect these two. There and there, there and there, right? And to understand that this y-axis is the speed, right? Right, this y-axis is the speed, right? Here's 50 miles an hour, right? And this is the distance. Pretty foundational, represented in feet. So in feet, this would be about half the track, right? 3,800, something like that. And for that, that's about here. This is about half the track. Half of your lap in distance is complete. Okay, making sense? So here we go. Let's keep going. The second most important channel I'll suggest to you is longitudinal. Now, we're going to change this graph a little bit, but it's really the same exact thing. So take a look at this in your head right now, the shape of this, right? And I'm going to add longitudinal right here. I'm going to add another one. You ready? Okay. Notice this thing didn't change, right? It's the same exact thing. It's a little smaller. It's a little smaller because we added this whole graph up here, this trace. We often call this long G. Long G. And what you need to know is long is your feet. Guys, these three things right here, speed, long, and the track map, which can also be, check out this little feature, right? You can show Waterford Hills. This is in a neighborhood. I don't know if everybody knows this. This is all like neighborhood houses and stuff back in here. It's a pretty old track. I forget the history. I've only went to it one time. If you got a big V8 car, you like barely get out of second gear. It's really fun for a momentum car. They got some great competition licensing schools there. It's got a lot of history. So this is what your feet are doing. And just a reminder of what your feet are doing. That's gas and brake. Gas and brake. Okay? Let's keep going. Remember, Same thing down here. Same thing down here. And we're going to relate the two in a second. Actually, we're going to relate all three of these in a second. But for now, we're just going to talk about long G. This 0 represents we're not accelerating or decelerating. That's all you kind of know is the foundational. This 0 reflects that. Okay? So this would be accelerating, and this would be decelerating. Now I'm going to ask you a question here real quick. Why is there more bigger events down here than, say, up here? Right? In other words, this goes all the way down to negative, keyword negative, 0.8, but this one only goes up to, what does that look like? Maybe 0.3? Positive 0.3? Why is that? Think about that for a second. I'm here to educate and help, not tell the answer. Eric Myers, teach a man to fish. This is how you learn this stuff. If you want somebody to tell you the answer the whole time in data, then data isn't for you, or hire a coach. Hire. Get out your visa and hire somebody. I'm about education. There's a lot of people for hire. I do that sometime. I spend more time educating. Guys, my goal is to help you learn this. It's easier than you think, and it will shave hours off your lap time once you learn it. And I'm here to show you how to learn it. Okay. So the answer is the car will brake more forcefully than it will accelerate. Right? Think about that. Going down the front straight, actually going down Road America, you headed to turn 5 and you jam on the brakes. It's totally throwing you forward, right? Throwing you forward, ABS. Now let's do the opposite. Let's jam on the throttle in second gear. It's not super throwing you back as much as the brakes are pulling you forward. That's why these values underneath here, these braking values, are higher. 0.8 in this case, 0.7 in this case, 0.4.5 in this case. Negative, apology, negative. Negative is important here. It's the same value, but negative just denotes decelerating. And again, this is the 0 line. Okay, now we're going to relate them a little bit. So we know that this is your feet, right? Gas and brake. And we know above this line is gas. And we know below this line is brake. Now let's relate the two. This event right here, we said was braking, relates to this right here, decrease in speed. Decreases from 94 miles an hour-ish to what looks like about 45 miles an hour-ish. And I want to show you how to do this. So first of all, let's talk about where we're looking at. We're going to relate these three, right? We're going to relate these three. This right here at the top of the peak before we go to brake, right, is right over here. Let me move this, let me shrink this down a little bit so we can see it a little better. There we go. This right here, before we go to brake, full brake is right here. You see that? Which is right here on the track before we go to brake, which is at the 4,200 mark, give or take. All right, and there's our 0, and we're below the 0 at this negative effort. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the cursor right. I'm going to open this up a little bit. Still the same graph. Put that cursor right there. Here's where the decel event happens. So when we cross over from here, this below is the brake, is the decel. What I'm sharing with you is like 99.9% correct, but to learn this, this is what you need to know. If you're an engineer and you want to argue about this, you'll probably be right, but go find somebody else to play, or you teach people yourself, because this is how you teach people. Below this line is the decelerating. I just like to say it's braking. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line right here and say this is where the braking starts to begin. Okay, yeah, I see a little bit right here where it still might be going up, But for the sake of argument, that's what's going on. And we're off the brakes or on the gas right here. Do you see that? So it starts going up, right? It starts going right here. So here's what I want you to think of. I want you to think of every time this crosses the line and goes up, that's really going on the brake and coming off the brake. In further videos, we're going to define this just a little bit more, just a little bit more. But for now, that's what you need to know, because it's correct, right? Right there where it crosses, we're going to brake, and right here where it crosses, we're back on the gas. Why do we say that? Because the car is accelerating, right? Is this making sense? Okay, wonderful recap. Long G, represented in G. There's 0. This is your feet. By the way, this is 80% of data, fundamentals and basics right here. Track map, speed trace, long G. If you're getting this, you're getting it. You're getting it. If you're not getting this, watch it again. Watch it again. Okay? I'm going to reinforce this a little bit more. I'm going to time in. So we're about 80% of the way through concepts on here. Okay? About 80% of the way through concepts on here. So we got long, we got speed, we got track map. Okay, let's look a little bit more. We talked about braking, so let's look at some of these right here. I want you to see these. That braking would refer to here, right? That braking would refer to here, right? Here's what looks like 2 events, right? 2 events and a throttle. So let's go down here, straight down. Open this up a little bit. And we can see that here's that braking, right? And coming off the brake. So this is braking and this is releasing. And again, we're not going to get too technical, but what you need to know is that part that I just showed you is when this goes down, right? And when it crosses over the 0 line, it's going up, right? Going down, right? And looky there, this is going up, right? This is right here. Are you seeing those correlations, right? Are you seeing that? So if you're looking right here to this brake zone, and you're looking in here, and you're looking in here, should be looking over, oops, let me put that right here. If you're looking right here, and you're looking right here, it's the same thing on this cursor over here, right? That's where that car is. It's getting ready, actually it's in the brake zone, right? It's in the brake zone. Again, that's start and finish, right? Start and finish right there. Is this making sense? Is this making sense? Now I'm briefly going to go to friction circle. We're not going to study it a lot. That's more of an intermediate term, but here we go. This is sometimes called the XY plot or the GG plot. I want you to think about what we just did right here with this line, right? Which was your feet, which is gas over here, up here, right? And brake over here, right? And we're going to take this same graph, same trace. We're going to look at it slightly differently. Ready? Here we go. Here's that same exact 0, right? Horizontal 0, right? Here's the same positive acceleration. Here's the same braking, negative. You can see it right here. It's longitudinal and in G's. It's the same exact thing as this. It's this right here. Same exact thing as this right here. All you need to know is these little points above here are gas, and these are brake. So when we see that this car is braking about negative 0.8 right there, which is right here, negative 0.8, you ready? Looky there. That's where that's at, negative 0.8, right? And when we see this accelerates at what looks like, actually we can put our cursor on here, 0.3, you see that right here? 0.3. When we go back here, we can see that that looks like that guy right there, right? Try to draw a straight line over there. It's like 0.3. That's all. You can also see the outside of these. Just look like about 0.9. And all these in here about 0.9. This thing's kind of a wacky, wonky thing, but about 0.9 in there. And that's what we're going to introduce right now, which is lateral, which is the side-to-side force that you get in the corners. And that is the next one we're going to add. So these are the big three right here. So now we're going to relate these three. This is all we're really going to do. We've done everything. These four, 1, 2, 3, 4, plus this right here. That's it. That's all we're going to do. It's the beginner foundation of everything you need to know. And there's an exam that I have that helps you walk through this so that you can learn all this stuff and test yourself. Actually get certified as a beginner certified that you know this stuff, which tells you I'm ready to go to the next level. I'm ready to go to intermediate. Guys, sometimes people force wanting to learn this without really understanding what the hell they're looking at here, and it's a recipe for disaster, especially if you're a non-engineer, type alpha, creative type. You just run through it, you get overwhelmed, and you're like, screw this, I'm out of here. And your fancy $500, $700, $2,000 data acquisition device becomes a fancy lap timer. Why do I say this? Because I see it all the time. I see it all the time. I see it all the time. And that's why I started teaching people with data, because there isn't a lot of entry-level beginner data resources out there. You can go to a Roger Cadell class on Saturday, which is absolutely wonderful, but that's one day, and it's hard to take away information from that. I'm doing these YouTube videos so you can study, and we're just concentrate on the basics again and again and again. Okay. X-axis, Y-axis, unit of measure is G, as in G-forces, and G, and speed, and feet, right? Same exact graphs, same exact track map, right? Same exact start and finish right here. So we got our feet over here. This is our hands. That's all you need to know. Lateral is hands. When you turn the wheel with your hands, you go side to side and you generate lateral G's, like in the corner, right? There's G's right here, and there's G's right here, and there's G's right here. There's G's right here in the sharper corner. Sharper corners, slower corners generate more G's than bigger sweepers, right? We're traction limited. We're mechanically have mechanical grip limitations. So here we go. We're going to talk just about lateral, and then we're going to wrap this bad boy up. This car achieves what looks like about -1 lateral G's, about 1 G. If we look up here, yep, you see that? Pretty much across the board, it's doing about 1 G. Right? Looks like this is the biggest G part. Let's find out what that is. Almost 1.1 in there. Pretty darn close. You see that? And if we come down here, this is sharp as well. So we have two areas. This car, and I can't remember if this is a cambered corner or not. I think it's flat. I haven't been there in 10 years. And this is a sharp turn. So what we know is that's pulling a lot of G's in that left-hander. And in this particular graph, these down here are left-handers, and these are right-handers. Right? Sometimes it's opposite, but for this one, all you got to do is put your cursor right here, right? Anywhere on here, and go, what is that? Well, that's a right turn, right? That's a right turn, so these are right, and these are left, right? Now look at this big sweeper. Car's turning left. Here it is right here on the bottom, left. Okay, making sense? Making sense? Now the next thing I want to show you, and again this is fundamentals, I'm going to show you where there's no lateral G's. What do you think that is? This is no steering, right? This is steering near zero, near lateral G's. And if you said that that is a straightaway where your hands are straight and the car is accelerating, right? Because above this is accelerating and your hands are straight and the car's gaining speed, you'd be right. Look at that right there. By the way, that includes part of the braking zone. Do you see that? Right about there? Because in this particular case, we're braking in a straight line. If we were coming over to in here, right, we would see that, excuse me, we would see that we're approaching, sorry, I got software issues. We would see that as we approach over here, we're starting to crank in wheel and we got the wheel turned. There's something right here, right? Let's go to this point and see what that is. That's right here. Right? You could say that, you could literally say that's opening the wheel and then going back to wheel for whatever reason. And we'll talk about that in intermediate. We'll zoom down here a little bit and see if we can see anything for what that is right there. Appears to be some track out right here. And looks like right here there's a little bit of acceleration right there. So they might be opening up the wheel. But that's not for this video. Okay. Summary. We're on Track Attack software, which is this little Rhino down here. It's free. It's for PC and Mac. Highly recommend it. You can share files. Share files with me. I'll be happy to walk you through them. Spend a few minutes. Make one of these videos so you go, oh, wow, I'm getting it. Okay. We're at possibly your home track. I have this right now for Gingerman, Mid-Ohio, Groton. I'm going to make one for every track in and around the Midwest and then start moving around to some other tracks. I got Barber, Daytona, all the big ones, Road Atlanta. Just was at Sebring. We'll do some of those. We got our big three: speed, long, lap. And of these big three, these two are like the ones you use the most, plus this track map. If you know these three right here, man, you got foundations of data down. You do. We use a little bit of this as we advance, and we use a little bit of this only to say lateral, we're getting about 1G of lateral and about 1G of lateral on this side. So this is these values right here on the side. Don't be frightened by this, because we already know that right here, above here is gas, and below here is brake. Well, right here, right, this is lateral load, and this is lateral load. And all I want you to see right here is how much of the tire we're using, which is about 1G, 1.1G, right? And that is represented in right here, right? And what looks like the highest one's right here. See that? That's all you need to know. That's it. We're done. You can take a beginner quiz, and I'll put that link below. Or if you feel like you've had mastery, have a 50 question exam that's open book that allows you to say, I know this stuff, which is really the door that allows you to go into intermediate, which will be some of our next series of analysis. But you gotta know this basic beginner stuff. You gotta know it. You gotta know it. I'll put a link to other videos like this in the bottom of this YouTube page. I'm Eric Meyer, and I hope to see you with Anthony at M1 Concourse this weekend in the Detroit area, or at future data workshops around the U.S. We'll talk to you soon.